Tell us the main concern here, tax dollars going into contractors' pockets to politicians. That's not a problem in South Dakota?
I don't think we have a large problem with that. They want to solve problems that are Washington-based, but let's get honest about South Dakota legislative session. Let's get honest about what people expect when they elect officials to represent them, and they expect them to evaluate proposals. There isn't a dime of money that's in the Vote No campaign that's public money. There wasn't a dime of money in the Vote No on the food tax. I know, we led that campaign. The things they object to are city councils, county commissioners, school boards expressing opinions through resolutions because they want to argue that the marginal cost of putting that on an agenda. The Attorney General has made it clear that's their right to express their collective opinion when it comes to things that threaten the cities and the towns. That's not tax money being used in this. That's them expressing an opinion. When you elect your mayor, he didn't tell you he was going to go to Pier for 60 days, so they object to what these people say. And that's, the core of what's wrong, is that everything that they don't like, that they hear, what they're trying to do is go gag the groups. They don't like the county commissioners having a debate about higher taxes, so they want to take them out of the process. They want to force county commissioners to go to Pier on their own and spend time to do that. They know that's inefficient. They know that you can't do that during the legislative session. This is really content-based censorship at its worst. It's going to give us a bad legislative process, and it's going to gag all of those public officials and public employees because they have an exception we'll talk about later that flat doesn't work.
Okay, let's go to the phones. Paul's been on hold longest here. Paul in Sioux Falls, line 2. Thank you. Paul, you there?
Yes, I am. Ms. Espenscheid, the one thing I wanted to point out to you is last week you had a press conference in front of one of the local stations here in Sioux Falls, and you were basically stating that SDA and NEA, which of course gave a large amount of sum to this defeat of this campaign, that the teachers in the state of South Dakota are forced to pay their dues on this. That was a totally incorrect and inaccurate statement because the teachers in a work-to-right state such as South Dakota are not forced to do anything. So this really illustrates to me that this whole issue is a total bunch of misrepresentations and lies on the part of Vote Yes 10. And very honestly, we need to stop having these outside groups come into South Dakota to try to prove their point with our people. So very honestly, you need to correct yourself and know your facts before you start stating them on the TV. Thank you very much.
Okay, Paula, thank you. Dena, good. Let me ask you, just paraphrase it this way. Are there outside groups involved heavily in your program on Voting Yes on 10?
Well, first I want to go back to the premise of her statement, which was that I can't even remember what the premise of the statement was. Basically,
either, so answer the second question. Is anybody from the out-of-state organizations working on your campaign?
Absolutely not. Our campaign has been 100% funded from inside of South Dakota, organizations and individuals within South Dakota, except for one $10,000 donation, which came from Americans for Tax Reform. Americans for Tax Reform, their head is Grover Norquist. He is on the board of the NRA. He came to South Dakota to support a Yes on 10. Now, I want to go back to this issue of the unions giving. Right now, your tax money goes through the city or the school districts and the Board of Regents, and it's used to collect dues for the SDEA, the majority of which are then sent on to the NEA. Now, it's true, South Dakota is a right-to-work state, so no teacher here is forced to join the union. But in 34 other states and territories across this country, they don't have the right-to-work protections that we have, which means that you join the union or you risk losing your job. Those are the monies that NEA has then collected to the tune of $1.1 million in ultra-liberal, powerful, out-of-state, big union bosses sent back to the No on 10 committee. This group is a group that is counter and lobbies counter to the values of South Dakota. They support things like, and it's official, sex education, graphic sex education for 5-year-olds. They support gun control. As a matter of fact, they're one of the largest supporters of gun control, and that's who's funding our opponents. And we don't think that out-of-state groups should be interfering with our campaigns. Especially when they're these compulsory dues-funded unions. So really, the big lie comes down to this. There are not one but 2 exceptions in this bill that allow exempt public employees from this law. It allows public employees to participate in the political process. We have an exemption that makes sure that your county commissioners, that your elected officials, your school board members are the ones who should be speaking and can speak to the legislature. And that's why our opponents are running a big lie campaign, because it's just not true that this gags anybody, and it's just not true when they say that there's no tax dollars going into their campaign. That's why you're going to vote yes on 10.
Okay. Dave, there was an awful lot in there. Let me just put it this way. People say this is going to hurt the political process. We've seen allegations here just even tonight of outside manipulation from other parties. Is your group totally South Dakotan? Are there outside influences that you're getting? Where's your money come from?
First of all, let me talk about, I got to give Dena credit. She has kept a straight face for 3 weeks trying to convince us that the Conservative Action Council's $600,000+ $650 some odd thousand they've given her campaign is South Dakota money. The truth of the matter is we don't know where it came from, because they've created that group, or at least they're using that group, to kind of hide that money. Now let's talk about the National Education Association and their $1.1 million that they gave us. We started this campaign by pulling teachers together, it's been the weirdest coalition I've been involved in. We've had business groups, government groups, and teachers, and we started with nothing. And they already had $400,000 in the bank. So the fact that 7,000 teachers out of 15,000 teachers in the state belong to their collective bargaining unit, where they've been sending dues for years, it's less than $150 apiece, is a proportional response to the magnitude of the threat that Initiative 10 poses on teachers as it takes them out of the process. So is that money from teachers in South Dakota that they've been paying for years, and finally because of this attack, which came from out of state, did the check come from South Dakota? No. Was the money put there by South Dakotans? Yes. Has the business community responded with over $150,000 of their own money? Yes. Have people been out there concerned? 64 groups, organized, good groups, have been around for a long time, have researched this and said no. They don't have a single group that I know of except one they created.